are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Hippies podcast, everyone. You have your favorite host, of course, me, and your other favorite host, Colton. And we're so happy to have a friend of mine on today, a wonderful guest, James Swantek, however you would like to call him. I think you go by Swan, though, is what you prefer. How you doing, James?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. We're glad you get to come on. We're excited. I know we reconnected because you had recently written a book about homesteading, and I was like, man, you got to come on and talk about that, because I think so many of our people are, frankly, they're like, I would love to learn how to grow tomatoes in my kitchen, but I don't really know how to do that. And so, or in my backyard, or what's the best way to collect rainwater? You know, there's so many people that think about it and they look it up on Google, but there's like millions of different ways of doing everything, right? For homesteading, what yours was so good at was keeping it simple, keeping it right there.
The goal. That was the goal. The goal of the book, keep it simple, because, everybody can homestead. That was kind of the vision I had for the book, was that it is little things you can do in your life, even if it's just upcycling a bottle or a can, growing a windowsill garden. Everybody can homestead in some way, and for me, homesteading brings like this special kind of joy, like a connection to the earth that I don't get from other activities. And so, I think everybody should try it in some small way in their life. Could be gardening, could be recycling, it could be rainwater collection. Everybody can try something different that fits them, but there's something in homesteading for everybody that everybody can try and kind of get that same kind of joyful experience that I get.
Yeah. Go ahead, Colton.
No, I just love, real quick, I love the way that you expanded the different categories too, because when I think of homesteading, I immediately think of gardening, but it's that, making use of everything around you, right? Like the recycling, that was like, oh, actually, yeah, that is part of homestead, like trying not to let things go to waste, or just like collecting rainwater and being efficient. I don't know, that was just a little light bulb.
Skills, things like making soap and making lip balm and everything, which are great activities. Gardening's always outside. I love it in the spring and the summer if it's not too hot of a day. But, when you have a rainy day, you try new stuff, try old stuff people did in the past, and make it new again. And so there's something for everybody.
Reconnecting with nature's cool again.
Yeah. I moved out into the woods. I got tired of the city life, and so I'm very connected to nature now.
What brought that, by the way? What got you to be like, I want to have less?
Well, so I was living the city life for about 12 years, and different cities, we were moving too much. For one, there was like a 2-year period where we lived in 4 different cities, and that was just too much. And then we were living in like a 3rd floor walk-up shoebox apartment when COVID hit. And
American dream.
From, being I was on the road as a traveling salesperson, so I was never home, so it was okay to have that small apartment. And
sure.
And then COVID happened, and then it was like, we got to get out of here. And so when we got a chance to move again, and we moved to Virginia, it was like, we are not moving to the city. And we found some land, and so basically our house is like in the middle of a field, in the middle of a forest. And we got our own hiking trails, and we're kind of shifted everything to that, everything's like a transition 3-5 years. What can I do in 3 or 5 years, and make that next step to what could I do in 50 years to leave a legacy? And so we've planted an orchard, and we've planted a vineyard, and some of those things don't generate any sort of fruit for a couple years. And so it's really starting to think in that long-term picture, and it just brings me a lot more peace and a lot less stress than always trying to be.
So you bought land when you moved out there?
Yes, we bought land. We bought our first home, and
that's
we
so
decided
cool.
Land was the way to go. A lot of it was the dogs. We got a Pomsky that was like my dream dog.
Nice.
And then we got another Pomsky, and then we bred the Pomskys, and then we weren't really willing to part with all the Pomskies, so we just slowly through each litter started accumulating more dogs. And I think when we moved here, we had 4, and
Wow.
we needed land so they could have a yard to run around. And then, you know, we had another litter with we studied our dog out and kept second choice of the litter from that litter. And then we had another litter, and we kept one of those, and now we're even at 6. We have half a sled dog team, and they're half the size of sled dogs, so it's perfect.
You
Man,
have a mini sled.
dude, you really are homesteading for anything. Winter comes, you're like, going down the road. That is
How
awesome.
much land
man.
did you get?
Yeah.
About 8.5 acres.
Whoa,
that's choice.
dude.
That's
An
choice.
acre and a half of it is
Little house on the
clearing where the
prairie.
house is, and then the rest is all woods with trails. We have about 1/3 of a mile of just straight linear hiking trails with a rustic campsite, and it's really, really cool.
Give a woman a big house, she'll live in it. Give a man a big piece of land, he'll live off of it. Hell yeah.
Another front-running case for COVID fucked things up for the most beautiful way, right? I mean, Dylan and I say that all the time. It's like COVID was one of the best things that happened to us.
We loved it. Everything. You know, it got us to move on from things. We went out in nature. We went out in Tennessee. We went backpacking through it. It was a lot of we just didn't want to be the people that stuck at home, you know, and didn't do anything. And for us outdoorsy people, it's the perfect time. We should be out. And of course, everyone was scared and stuck at home, which was benefit for anyone that's in nature. It was like, great, the trails are cleared. Let's go out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that was a bit of a catalyst for you getting this land.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. The timing worked out perfect for everything. Everything just kind of came together. My first dog, he's the most well-trained dog I've ever had, because we got him in like December, and then COVID happened in March. And so we were just in that little apartment. It was like, we got to get out and walk the dog 12 times a day. And that little apartment was right next to a city park around a pond. And we just got used to being outside all the time. We even put like the cats on leashes sometime and walk the cats outside. We just finished putting in a cat patio like this week. And so that's really cool. We're trying to get the cats used to the fact that the cat patio is located in the backyard where the dogs play. They're all yelling at each other.
So you got dogs, you got cats, you got anything else going on?
We had a fish. Fish don't live that long, sadly.
Yeah.
We have a whole garden, though. We like to take staycations. And so one year we did a staycation. We built a big old garden and landscaped everything.
Oh, that's nice.
That is cool.
It's a good way to kick off the spring, you know.
Is that what kind of kicked off what was it? You finally got this land, and now you have 8 acres, which is incredible, by the way. That's awesome. And you're like, maybe you started growing something, and then one thing, other thing, and then the other thing, where was it finally clicking where you're like, oh, that's right. This is what this is about. This is what this is about.
Yeah, I think when we first started putting in the orchard, and, we had a pear tree that did really, really well. And then we had an apple tree that just died instantly. Mm-hmm. And then we found out that apple trees have to have siblings. Like, they don't live by themselves. They have
That's
to have
so funny.
cross-pollination. And I didn't know. And the pear tree is still it's now the biggest tree in our orchard. It's growing well. So we planted another pear tree. Then we got 2 apple trees, and we kept them in pots for like a year or two. And we're like, we're going to wait.
Scared to plant them.
Yeah, and we planted them last year, and I don't think they're doing as good as I would like. They're not dead, but they're not doing as good as I would like. Like they're not doing as good as the peach tree that we planted a year later. They're not doing as good as that tree. So I think apple trees just don't like the soil. So it's a big learning process, and we've had kind of this room to grow. Our garden was really, really small when we first moved in, like one raised planter bed, and we fenced it in with an old dog playpen fence. But my wife showed me how to do vertical gardening, and so we got all kinds of like pots that stack, and we had all her herbs in there, and so just kind of learning to use the land to get the things that we want. And I'll tell you, there's nothing better than like a mojito made with mint that you grew in your own garden.
Ooh.
So we started learning some of those benefits. And then we started learning that you just do things, right? We bought some rose bushes and we wanted a rose garden, and it was like a lot of work. We didn't want to do it. They just sat there in their little pots and they were slowly starting to wilt. And it was like, we just have to do it. We just like pick a day and sit down, dig a hole and put the rose bushes in there and do it. And, you know, we had this vision for being able to sit we had like a cement patio, and we want to sit out there and have lunch and enjoy the roses. And, you know, we just did it one day, and there were these tiny little roots, you know, barely sticking up from the ground. And I was thinking, you know, same thing as the orchard. Maybe a couple years from now, we'll have that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 months later, we were out sitting on the patio having lunch surrounded by roses. They grew that fast, and they bloom all year. And so we just started seeing the benefits of just taking action in any small way on the property and seeing what we get back out of it.
What are some of your favorite things to grow, to harvest, food-wise?
So my wife loves cucumbers. So we always grow way too many cucumbers.
Those bitches, I swear, it's like cucumbers have something against humans. They're like, you think you want me? Here's 50 pounds.
When we had that small garden, right? We had like 2 cucumber plants, and they each produced 1 cucumber, and one of them was like deformed and shaped like a penis. Like we didn't have a good crop.
James, I think they all look like penises, dude. I think that's the normal.
Had balls and everything, but
no. It came with a set of nuts, and it was uncircumcised.
So the plants, they were smothered by like the basil and other stuff we had in the planter. We didn't know what we were doing with the cucumbers. But my wife loves cucumbers. So every year we've gotten better at growing cucumbers. And then all of a sudden we had the entire kitchen island was just a giant pile of cucumbers. And it was like, I guess we have to learn how to pickle now.
There's the pickle.
Yeah.
Cucumbers.
I was wondering when that was coming. Everyone, we get a cucumber, eventually the pickle. That should be a book. Learn how to grow cucumbers because it'll get the pickling.
Okay, all right. Okay, so cucumbers. What else?
Tomatoes grow really well up here. I love the cherry tomatoes, and a couple years ago we planted these cherry tomatoes. We did not read the packaging when we got.
What does that mean?
We just picked the coolest named tomatoes.
Okay.
And they're called midnight cherry tomatoes.
Okay.
We didn't know midnight cherry tomatoes, when they ripen, they turn like almost black. And so we thought we were growing poison. We thought it was nightshade. We were like, I think we grew this wrong. And if you grow it in nature, because tomatoes are from the nightshade family. And so we were like, maybe our soil's no good and we accidentally created poison. And we do have nightshade that grows over by the fire pit. So it was like, maybe this is... And then my friend came to visit, and he just put one in his mouth. I was like, we thought that was poison. And he was like, oh, no, it tastes good.
He's like, cut him up.
So,
Like,
real quick, can you clarify nightshades? Because I've heard that term before, and I want to pretend like I know what it is. But what is a nightshade?
So nightshade is a plant, I think... I haven't done a lot of research into it, but it's from the tomato family. So, tomatoes are from the nightshade family. So it's a plant that grows in nature that is poisonous to humans. And we to my understanding, tomatoes didn't like really truly exist. Like, we just kind of kept crossbreeding till we created tomatoes.
So some of those berries where you're like, those look like blueberries, but they're not blueberries. Would that be a nightshade?
These are more like a tomato, though.
Right. But
So
it's
when
like
they're growing,
kind of
they
anything
look like
that.
tiny miniaturized watermelons, and then they ripen and they kind of look like.
If you're like trotting along on one of those hikes and you see something that you would think is edible, but it's not edible, is that a nightshade?
Probably.
Okay. Fair enough.
Interesting.
Fair enough.
Huh.
I've heard that term before. I just don't know what it.
Are tomatoes fruits or vegetables?
A tomato is a fruit because it has seeds.
Now I know.
My understanding. Seeds in the fruit. It's in the fruit.
Is that
then
what
a
the difference
vegetable-
is? Is seeding in the fruit?
If you want to grow carrots, right?
Yeah.
You can grow carrots, and then you could pull them out of the ground, and you've got a carrot. Or you can leave them in the ground, and then they will create a plant that blossoms into flowers, and you harvest the seeds from them, and then you have heirloom seeds to grow more carrots. But the seeds not coming from the plant, from the part you eat is not the fruit. The fruit has a seed in it, and then.
But then, wouldn't that mean bell peppers are fruit?
Maybe.
So I got clarity on the nightshades, by the way. So like eggplants, potatoes, peppers, like those are in the nightshade too. But like what James is saying is like the sketchy side is some are just toxic. So so they got the whole family, but it's the toxic side that does make them kind of sketchy, like you were saying. You're like, that could be poison. I don't know.
It's the one that flirts with you a little bit. It's like you should eat me. Right when you need it the most, it's the one that appears out in the forest.
I try not to eat the random things I find in my forest.
It's a good,
but I
smart.
do know that there's a lot of things that are growing out there because the deer come and the rabbits come and they rob the garden and then they go and plant it in the woods.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're like, those are my tomatoes. Dang it.
So you guys do some gardening. What other kind of like homesteading activities have you got up to on your land?
Well, so like the next project that I want to do is near my my vineyard. I want to do a rain collection system off of my shed and use that to water the vineyard. And so I've been working on that lately, the design plans for that, and then also the regulations around water, right? That's something I write about in the book. Like you got to check your local regulations if you're going to start harvesting rainwater. Water rights are something very interesting. But that's the next big project I want to do. But we kind of do a little bit of everything. We're kind of blessed in where we're at. We believe in the community of homesteading. And so we kind of lean into that. So my neighbors across the street, they are bee and berry farmers. And so we have all the best pollinators come and pollinate all our stuff.
Yeah.
They have this whole bee and berry farm. We can go pick their berries and get honey and stuff. And then we have a local farmer down the street that breeds Ashayukai cows, which is like a hybrid Wagyu Red Angus beef. And so we buy our meat from them. We get like a quarter cow at a time.
That's a dream right there.
That's
Put it
awesome.
in a drop freezer, and then we have good meat. And so we're trying to build out this bigger network of local homesteaders and local farmers so that we're less reliant, and that's kind of what it's all about. Self-sufficiency doesn't have to be lonely. It just means not fully reliant on the big box stores and things like that.
Having a beekeeper as a neighbor, that's like a grocery store in itself. I mean, all the balms and waxes and honey, like there's so many things that bees produce. It's incredible. I mean, I don't know if your neighbor does do like all the things you can do with it or if they just do honey, but
yeah, I think so. The bee and berry farmer does and sells it, but we have another neighbor that's a beekeeper. She has 3 hives. But I think she does this stuff, but I don't think she sells it to anyone. It's just for her.
Yeah.
Just for her.
One thing I thought was cool is, a lot of people that want to get into homesteading, right? They think big picture. I got to do it all. I got to do this. I got to do that if I want to be the full into it, right? And I love how you're like, start from the beginning and work your way through. But also, it's kind of interesting what you just brought up with the big box stores. A lot of big box stores will sell things to make you think you're homesteading with their products at their, buy this and then use this at your house for it. And it's like a lot of times you could just make things around what you have around your house already to do it.
Absolutely. Upcycling and creative projects like that are a huge part of homesteading. I like to do the upcycling stuff because it's kind of like a puzzle. Like, how could I use this? How could I use this again? And then when you figure out how you could use it again, then it's an art project. Because you're not just going to use it as it is. None of us are out here planting things in a soup can and just leaving it looking like a soup can. No, we got to paint the soup can first, right? And so it's kind of a double fun project.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like pallets are huge. in the upcycling world in homesteading. Like the number one item would probably be cans and pallets.
Yeah, and you could get pallets from local people. I have pallets on my property because I'm still working on landscaping around the house, and so I order like bricks and stuff by the pallet, and so then I have pallets left over, and so I got a couple projects I'm working on with that, and then I just kind of I'm doing too many things, too many projects, so I got just kind of like wood all over the property, and so we want to do kind of like a sculpture garden along our hiking trail. And
cool.
we have a lot of woodwork on the property, big fire pit that's got swings and fences and stuff. And so the team that we work with that does a lot of the woodwork, they're very artistic, and so we're going to commission them to do our first sculpture for our sculpture garden. They're going to make it out of like just reclaimed wood from our property.
That's
just
super
all
neat.
The leftover
That's
wood.
cool.
Have you thought about doing, I don't know if you like mushrooms at all, but like the turkey tail and stuff where you can kind of go out and you just drill holes and you put the little mushrooms in like dead logs and stuff, and then you kind of come back to it to harvest it?
So mushrooms grow really well here, I guess because of the humidity level here in Virginia. It's just at the right level. We get all 4 seasons, so you get the perfect transitional periods. And I'm always worried to grow. Like, I have to be very contained in where I plant stuff that I plan to eat because so much stuff grows wild. So, like, I wouldn't want to plant mushrooms that way and then, like, the wild mushrooms grow up next to it. And I don't know what kind of mushrooms they are.
Let me just scoot on in here. Pushes yours out.
I got one friend that every time he visits, I gotta tell him, like, don't eat the mushrooms that grow in the woods. I don't know what.
Oh, you got a wook friend. He's up there just scavenging.
That's like one of our favorite things to do when we're hiking along, not eat them, but just kind of check them out, you know, like have a little mushroom guide or whatever. The turkey tails, though, I feel like you could, you know, if you just got some, a tree that you felled or something, you got some logs laying around, you can kind of quarantine that off by the house or the shed or something and know, like, okay, that plug I put in there is turkey tail. But I'm with you. I mean,
turkey tail.
If you're in a good environment for mushrooms, go crazy. They do like to look alike.
Yeah. And I like the taste of them, so I wouldn't know it was poison until it was poison. It was too late.
Oh, got me. It won't be the nightshade. It'll be the mushroom.
Yeah, the mushroom will do you in. So do you think, aside from plants, do you see yourself getting any other kind of animals on the property or down the road?
So we're looking at chickens as the next big one. It's homesteading is a slippery slope. You know, you buy land and then you get a garden and then you have chickens and then you
chickens are awesome.
A bunch of other stuff.
Do it.
So
get some chickens.
We have to do chickens, maybe ducks. I like the Aflac duck. The only problem is I know my dog's gonna try and chase the ducks because they've already done that at my friend's house.
Ducks will fight back. Don't worry about it. Like ducks will.
Yeah, don't worry about the chasing. Your dog would probably eat the fucker.
Bigger eggs and they're less needy, but
we've
been looking at chickens. I talk about it in the book. In one of the chapters, I talk about small animal husbandry. This is the book, by the way.
Yeah,
shout out.
I'm gonna edit a picture of it. Boom, right on the front.
Excellent. So the small animal husbandry chapter, it talks about my grandmother, and she used to kill the chickens, man, and she would just grab the chicken. These were meat chickens, right? So they weren't for eggs; they were for meat. So you're supposed to kill the chickens, but my grandmother was the kind of person who she tells my aunt to name the chickens, and then she kills the chickens.
That feels like a pretty unnecessary step in the process.
Oh, she was having fun with that.
She was having fun. So we struggle because my wife couldn't handle that, and just the idea of my grandmother swinging around a chicken by its head until she kills it instead of cutting off the head.
Did you name little Johnny? Well, did you?
We're gonna have to do.
That's hilarious.
Egg chickens, for sure.
Well, the duck point's a really good point too. That I didn't think about. Ducks are slightly less needy and just more personable. Ducks like to follow you around. You can have a little bit better relationship. Chickens are awesome. I mean, they produce the eggs. It's not like you gotta harvest the chickens. You can get the eggs. Love some fresh eggs, but that's a good point. Maybe some childhood scarring would deter.
Man,
just anybody there.
that is some ruthless trolling right there. Hey, why don't you name that one over there? Isn't it cute? Name it. We'll come back to them in 6 months.
Now, what you're talking about the watering though, so I'm curious. Like, can you give me a little bit more insight on? You're talking about like water conservation or regulations rather, and so help me understand. You have 8 acres. Like, how densely populated is kind of like the local area that you live in, and how does that affect kind of how a local municipality like handles water regulations, et cetera? I'm just kind of curious about that in general. So take that in any direction.
Absolutely. But so like I live on 8.5 acres, and all the lots around me are around that same size. Nobody would know if I was harvesting rainwater, right?
Okay.
I'm on a well, so I'm really just taking water that would go into the aquifer where my well is and just harvesting it myself beforehand. And I'm taking a small portion. I'm just taking a small part of the water cycle in advance and redirecting it. It's still going to go back in the earth. It's just going to feed the grapevines first. But we have a saying. We have a saying in the water industry that beer is for drinking and water is for fighting over. And nobody fights better than the government and the lawyers.
That's true.
That's a pretty undefeated quote.
There's people. I've heard some stories down in Florida, in particular, I think, where someone got arrested for living off the land. They bought land, and they were off the grid, not using the government's electricity, not using the water department, and they sent him a bill for all the minimums that he wasn't paying, and then they came and arrested him when he didn't pay the bill. And so you have to definitely check your local regulations if you're going to harvest rainwater, especially if you're not. Like, I'm out here, nobody's going to check anything, but if you're in a neighborhood and you're collecting rainwater and the municipality finds out and they're not okay with it, and there's rules in your state or your city or your county, you can get in trouble. And so you definitely want to check local regulations before you do anything with harvesting. Now,
do you think that's because of they think, oh, you're not paying your taxes, or do you think they think because they're getting their water from the source that is coming to the ground, so that way they can spread it out to the community? Are they in a way thinking that you're stealing a portion of the water that we're trying to spread out to the community if you're living in this inner city limits?
I think it has more to do with public health. Right? And so if you harvest rainwater and you don't take care of it correctly, you can cause serious health issues. You could be growing serious bacteria, and it won't just get you sick, it'll get other people sick.
So it's growing. So it's growing like a very type of, I guess, like when the rats were a problem in London, right? Like a very particular disease happens if it's not taken care of.
In pigeons, in cities in particular, I remember watching there was an episode of House. You guys ever watch House?
Yeah.
And this guy, he had water. He was stealing everything. So this is how they found out that why he was sick, because he was stealing cable. He was like splicing cable off of a neighbor and stuff like that. And so there was water collecting in like a bird bath on the roof, and then he had it coming down to a timed sprinkler system, and he was sprinkling his homegrown pot field that he was keeping in his house. And so he created, like, it was up on the roof, and the pigeons were getting in it, and the pigeons were pooping in it, and he wasn't filtering the water. And so he got sick, and he got like this bacteria in his brain. And then one of the doctors in House, they got sick too, because when they visited, the sprinklers were on, and they got exposed to the bacteria because it was aerial. And they found out what it was, and they cured both people. But, well, actually, I think the guy died before they found the cure. They found the cure for the doctor, though.
Yeah.
But, it's a serious public health issue. If you're dealing with water and you're not treating it correctly and you cause it to be exposed to other people, then the person who's liable is probably not going to be you. It's going to be the city or someone. So they put all these rules in place.
I never even thought about that.
Well, there's a guy I follow on social media that has been doing homesteading for like 4 or 5 years. And one of the things he spoke about, because people are like, how can you afford to do this? And he's like, it's amazing how much further money goes when I'm not in the cycle of capitalism and I'm able to remove myself. Like, he's not totally off grid or anything. He's pretty close, but like you're speaking to like the infrastructure minimums, right? Like just by the nature of having power run back to his house, if he did want to use it, you know, he's got to pay like 20 or 30 bucks a month or something to maintain that.
Absolutely.
And same thing, I think, with like septic or plumbing or water. There's like some kind of minimum infrastructure maintenance, because they're like, hey, if shit hits the fan and you do need us, well, then now you're right back in the pool. It's our responsibility to maintain all this stuff for you. So it's kind of a catch-22, really close to the property tax argument, where it's like, I own this fucking land, and if you own it outright, you still don't own it. You know, they still tax you on the land, and it's like, I don't own the land.
Well, the
technically,
biggest thing is what they do with the taxes, right? And so that's a big reason why I live where I live, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have access to these centers where I live in Goochland County, and we have these convenience centers. And so all of my property taxes, my house tax, my cars, they do personal property, and then they do like the actual property. And so all of that goes to the county, and they have these huge convenience centers where you can bring your trash, you can bring your recycling, electronic recycling, oil recycling, batteries. They do, you could bring, like, when we have storm damage on the trails, we can just fill the truck full of, the downed trees and everything, and then take it over there and pay that we have to pay for that. But we could pay them to take a truckload of the stuff, and then they mulch it and they sell it back to you as mulch for your property. And so, that I see the roads out here and the community and the different things they do and services they offer, it's well worth the taxes. You got to look at where your property taxes go into, because it's usually not, unless you live in a city, it's not a city, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually a smaller subset. Might be impacting schools, it might be impacting your water, it might be impacting your services, sanitation, things like that.
St. Pete's got a lot of old liberals in it, right? St. Petersburg, Pinellas County area. So what I noticed they did was, because a lot of people like to live off the water, especially the older liberals, right? Like, oh, I'm going to figure it out. If you don't pay for your water bill, they included the trash in the water bill. So your trash doesn't get taken away if you don't pay at least a water bill on top of it. So that's how they get people to use the water in St. Pete. Plus the taxes are included for that as well, for the trash and everything. So it's interesting how they figured it out. Like, you want your trash taken away, you're gonna have to get some water.
They put it all together. And I'll tell you what, you want your trash taken away, because it's nice as the convenience center is, having to load the bed of my truck up with trash and recycling and drive it over to the convenience center.
Yeah, because you're in a spot where you have to drive your trash out to a location,
or pay a private company. It wouldn't be, there's private companies that do it, but it's not the county, it's not the city. It's just some dude with a trash truck. And so
a little gas,
just throw it in the bed of my truck and I take it out there.
Little gas in the backyard. Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Why do they call it? Do they? Your county calls it convenience centers for
convenience center.
That's cool.
I think
it's got
of like
more than just trash. It's got recycling. You could bring your like old furniture, scrap metal. They have a spot in there for donations, so you can donate stuff. They have like a separate bin that goes to charity for the county. They have like a Goochland County like charity, kind of like a Goodwill, but just for the county.
What's the population in your county? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I live all the way out on the edge of it.
It sounds like a little bit more rural, right?
It's very rural where I'm at. I'm when you're driving between Richmond and Charlottesville, Virginia, and you're in the middle of nowhere in the woods.
Yeah.
And there's a highway exit in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's where I live.
How close or far are you from, let's say, like Walmart or a grocery store?
I mean, a grocery store depends on what you consider a grocery store. I would say I'm 15 minutes from like a
I was going to say
grocery
convenience store, but
like
that would take you
Food
to a
Lion or
landfill.
something.
So that's why I'm like,
He said Food Lion. I thought he was going to
Food
say.
Lion's,
I thought he was going to say Piggly Wiggly. I was about to say.
Food Lion's about 15 minutes.
That's how you know he's out somewhere because he's got a Food Lion.
There's a Dollar General. I could walk to the Dollar General from my house.
That
Now
answers
we
another
get
question.
it.
Now,
But
We-
what they had,
now we get it.
yeah.
there was a country corner store is what it's called. It's on the corner. So I live. It's kind of cool.
You're
I
doing a
live
beautiful job painting this picture.
Yes.
This is
on
You're going
Broad
to see the Dollar General people now going, there's 10 people here right there.
There's a Broad Street, which is the high street goes across the top of Richmond, and it goes all the way out. It runs parallel with the highway and comes all the way out here. And then there's Three Chop Road, which is an old merchant trail that runs all the way from Charlottesville to the Bay, and it's called Three Chop because they used to mark it with the axes so they could find the trail. And that road goes like this, and then Broad Street goes right through it because it's a newer road. And so I live near one of the corners of those, and there is this family that owns this country corner store, and it's just like it's a gas station, grocery store. I don't know, they got slot machines in there. It's kind of random.
perfect.
And then they have a deli, full deli. They make the best sandwiches. And they own another gas station across the street where they make really good pizzas and comfort food like fried chicken and stuff. And then out of nowhere, about a year ago, they built a Dollar General. It just popped up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. What I love about like just little thing you said there though, when you live in an area like that, I mean, Dylan and I love this shit when we go out in the middle of nowhere, like learning the history. It just by, I don't know, de facto of being somewhere where you're kind of out there, you want to learn about like, hey, how did this stuff come to be? Who lived here before me? You know, there's just like kind of that richness because you don't like in a city like here. I'm kind of in the middle of Denver. There's people and people and people. It's like history kind of erases itself pretty quickly. But when you're out there, a little bit more spread out, people plant the roots and you kind of learn things from neighbors or bonfires. And it's like, well, yeah, this family used to do, you know, like we were talking about before on there. It's like they used to run shine or like this family used to have a port or whatever, you know, all that kind of good
different
stuff.
family names. So where I live, I actually live off Clay Morris Estates. And that is the great-great-grandfather of, or the great-grandfather of my neighbor. And he owned all of this land around here, and it was a tobacco farm or tobacco factory, and he used to run shine out of here, and so the still is still there.
No kidding.
So in my hiking trail, there's a part of the hiking trail we haven't touched. There's pieces of the still there.
That's super neat.
There is
That's
no
cool.
joke glass jugs with the 3 X's on it.
Yeah,
That would be cool to collect.
that's super neat.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history around here. We find all kinds of stuff that we find, like car hoods that are you know, semi-submerged in the ground, and
In the middle of nowhere, right?
there's an old Volkswagen Bug in the woods out near like where we have what we call Outpost 1, which is our rustic campsite, and it I don't know how it got there. Like,
Isn't that the funniest thing?
physically
You're in the
impossible
middle
to
of the
car
woods
out
and you're
there.
like, it's almost like the trees grow right around the car, like the border of the car. You're like, how did it get where it's...
You're ours now, sucker.
So I was reading something recently about some treasure, and I was like, that might be on my land. I was like, there might be some old
to have
treasure buried
to have
out
8
here.
acres to get to explore too, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's just you got to feel like a kid again, almost to
Oh,
just be
absolutely.
out there and like I'm gonna go check out here, whatever.
You know, the problem is that we keep creating reasons like where we don't have to go anywhere. Like every year we put more random stuff on our property, and every year we have less need to go anywhere. We have archery, we have axe throwing, we got
Bro,
fire
you go
pits.
south 2 acres and that's a vacation in itself. Like, man.
Well, the rustic campsite is the back corner of the property. You cannot see the house from it,
That's cool.
so you can go camping out there. It's really dark out there in the woods, though. Actually, it's really dark if you walk about 5 feet away from my house.
Can you see the Milky Way at night from your
A
house?
little bit.
That's
yeah.
cool.
You,
Wow.
not quite as much as I like to, because there's still a little bit of ambient light, but you get to see all kinds of stars, and the longer you're out there staring at it, the more stars appear in the sky. But I'll tell you, to walk from my house to my shed, which can't be more than 20 feet from my house, you don't want to do it at nighttime. Like, that's like a horror movie. Like, it's pitch black.
Well, you're up there with the skinwalkers, buddy. They're going to come out to you. They're going to get you. That's cool, man. Dude, that just sounds like that. We went to a place called Linden, Tennessee over COVID. And like what you're describing of like that community in town is pretty much what kind of this was. And there's a gentleman there who's him and his wife have bought the only hotel in town. They refurbished it and turned it into theirs. He owned 400 acres he owned the whole entire valley. He owned pretty much up the side into the mountains to the side of them. And he goes, you want to know something crazy? What came with the property? I got 2 helpers. That's what we call them. 2 helpers that came with the property. They said they live up there. If you ever need them, you just call for them. They'll come down and help you, but they live up there. They live on your property.
And that's just what they want to do.
And that's just what,
by the way, he gave them an option. That pays them, I think, $600-$800 a month or something. Yeah. And they just kind of take care of the property. But
put gravel down roads.
Absolutely would do that on my property if he was still seeing. But he got married and has kids, and now he can't do it.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
And he comes to visit. He's a different person. He comes to visit, and he's out here on the property, and he's just walking around, and he's got all kinds of new energy and new life, and so he would definitely do it.
You got to see that. That's got to be so many people, right? Like that are in the city and they're working, and then they go out to a property like yours, right? And it's a whole different type of energy. It's almost like you're getting natural Red Bull just to the to the body, you know. And you're like, I want to go.
Absolutely. And so for anybody who wants to try homesteading, is skeptical about like the kind of joy you can get from that connection to earth, I'm going to challenge you. If you've never done it, go outside. You've probably done it, but you probably haven't done it since you were like 10 years old. Go outside, take your shoes and your socks off, and walk on the bare earth and ground yourself and just feel that connection. And tell me that you're not going to find some kind of joy in homesteading after you've done that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's weird. I saw a video popped up on my feed the other day. It never connected with me for whatever reason. Like, you know, I'm an amateur electrician as far as the work I've done on the house and things like that. But a guy took a multimeter of some kind, right, that's going to read current. And he was in his shoes. You know, he stuck one end, the positive, in the dirt. It's holding the negative. It doesn't read anything. He takes his shoes and his socks off, stands on the ground, and does the same thing. And you see the current. You see the grounding. You know, that's what it's measuring, the current flowing through him and grounding. And you see it pop off. And for whatever reason, I was just like, mind blown by that fact. Like, we know that lightning's looking, you know, to ground, electricity is always trying to find the ground, but for whatever reason it just never clicked for me that like our heart has an electromagnetic signal, like our body has electricity flowing through it, and just by virtue of actually feet in dirt, like there's a real reaction taking place. It's not just some woo-woo bullshit that we throw around about like grounding yourself.
I mean, we're not supposed to wear shoes. I mean, shoe manufacturers spend millions of dollars every year trying to figure out how they can make shoes more comfortable, more like your feet. Like,
it's big. Right. It's big shoe, man. It's the big shoe, man. Got to get rid of the big shoe.
It takes a little bit to get used to, but if you think back to when we were kids and we would just run outside barefoot, we didn't care if there was stickers in the grass. We were out there barefoot doing all kinds of crazy stuff, climbing trees. Now, people are afraid to leave their house, like, you know, without a phone. Like, they can't, like, that kind of concept's kind of gone. So if you revisit that and you get out and take your shoes off and just kind of experience nature,
and I know you noticed that. You just mentioned like, oh, you're afraid of stickers now and stuff. Isn't that interesting? When you went back out there and you started walking more barefoot, your feet start building a tolerance back up to it, to like that rock before when I first started hurt, but now I can walk over that rock and it doesn't bother me now. I feel that's just interesting to me that if big rock, of course, problem, but like pebbles, sticks, stuff like that, you can walk over it now with not that big of
Yeah,
an issue.
absolutely. Well, and the sad thing is, so many people nowadays are like, they're like allergic to grass because they never touch grass. Like, they don't actually touch grass. I mean, you're
Yeah.
kind of allergic to everything until you build up a little bit of a tolerance to it. And way more people are allergic. People don't roll around on the ground and roll down hills and have picnics anymore. So people are just, they come.
This
up
is some
and
wholesome ass shit you're talking about, James. Making my heart flutter.
I was listening to someone on Rogan the other day that lives in an area like you, and he says when he goes into the cities now, he can smell the difference. The noise is just perforating, just a constant noise. He can't get used to it. Is that something you notice too? Like you go into the city and it's just like constant buzz happening.
I don't like to go to the city. So I travel around the country for a living, so I go to all the major cities. So when I come home, I do not want to have to go to the city. Like, that's why we live in our own
How often do you
slice of
travel?
paradise.
Would you say?
50% of the time.
Okay.
And so I go all week, and then I'm home for the weekend, and then some weeks I'm home. And so, but when I'm gone all week, when I come home, the last thing I want to do is have to drive to the city and do an 8-hour adventure where we're shopping at various stores and everything. I just want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we talk about like that's the dream. Anybody can do it. I mean, my wife and I, like later stages, that's what we want, is to purchase some property. I grew up on, I don't know, like 3 acres, 4 acres, something like that. But we had horses and a victory garden. We grew a ton of stuff and harvest our own hogs, and just having that relationship. The other thing that popped up in my mind when you were talking about earlier, like your neighbor that raises the beef, is I feel like unrelated but slightly related to homesteading, that now we get all of our meat in this pretty little packaging that I feel like Dylan and I have spoken about this. Like, everyone should almost be required to harvest that animal one time to understand the life cycle that it has to go through. Like what you're getting, the essence of life that you're getting from that being. And same thing with vegetables. I wonder what percentage of the population has never grown their own cucumber, tomato. Like, they don't really understand like the connection and all this like monocropping that goes on, where it's just like, hey, we're pumping the ground full of fertilizers to get this like one little crop, and you can have your own dirt. You can make your own dirt. You can compost your own dirt and then grow things out of that. When we've done that, we had a tower garden. It's like the secret ingredients, love. You feel the love coming from that plant because you cared for it and harvested it. Like, there's so much intention. I don't know, there's maybe some psychosomatic effect.
No, the food's actually way better, and it's a healthier plant. I mean, anything that's made in mass cannot be made in quality and still be affordable for the masses. And so, if you want quality food, grow it yourself, or have a neighbor grow it and share. You grow tomatoes and they grow cucumbers, and then you swap.
Do you guys make your own dirt? Do you compost stuff?
Yeah, so we don't compost as big as we have planned right now. So we mostly reuse the coffee grinds, the banana peels, stuff like that, the egg shells. But we don't have like a big compost pit yet like I want to make. I just haven't found the right place that I want to do it. But my biggest challenge for composting for me is going to be how to keep the right ratio of browns and greens, organic and inorganic matter, because I produce so many grass clippings when I mow the lawn. And they're not grass clippings. It's not all like grass. It's a lot of weeds and just ground cover, but it's all green life. And so you can't overload your compost with just straight up green organic life. It's got to be a combination. So that's one of my next learning curves. You don't have to be an expert, and that's really what my book is about. It's about anybody could try it, right? Anybody could try homesteading in some way that fits into their life and enjoy that connection to earth, even if it's something really small. And then you learn as you go. And then hopefully you share what you learn with other people. It doesn't have to be a book. could be a video, could be a conversation with a friend or a neighbor, and just kind of pass on that knowledge and inspire other people to try it too. And so, I have a quote from my book that I wanted to share with you guys. It really, really means a lot to me. And let me just pull it up. So, as you look to the future, imagine a world where homesteading enriches individual lives, strengthens communities, and heals the planet, right? So if you think about it and what homesteading has done for my life and the joy that I feel, if I can make one other person feel that same kind of joy, and they can make one other person, or maybe together we build a community where I'm growing tomatoes and you're growing cucumbers and we swap, and that guy's got chickens, the other guy's got beef, and we got to have someone who's fermenting their own beer, right? And so all together we make a community, right? And then that community becomes strong. And then if all the communities become strong, then the planet starts to heal and we start to have a better life. I just feel like we're at a point in the world right now where we could use a little bit more of that.
But Publix has tomatoes on sale for 89 cents.
I'm ready to go through a wall. Don't ruin this fucking moment, Dylan.
I'm sorry.
That was some good.
That was beautiful.
Shit.
That was so beautiful.
God
that
damn,
was so
dude,
beautiful,
fucking
and I
over
had to
here with your
ruin it.
Bogo ass
Stupid.
fucking clearance sale,
We're
big
gonna have
box
to do a
bullshit.
follow-up video.
That
where
was
he
horrible.
eats
I'm sorry.
A tomato from Publix and a tomato from my garden, and you tell me which one's worth 89.
We've got to do the blind test. So, James, just for reference, we did a blind taste test of finding the best mayonnaise. We've got to run that back with your tomatoes,
it was so
brother.
stupid, but I would love to do it with tomatoes. That would be way
God, that
better.
would be so much fun. Oh, we could get like some farmers market stuff, like stuff grown
get a
on your land, and like big
Kroger's.
box. Oh, that'd be so much fun, man.
You just brought back our mayonnaise episode memory.
But in all sincerity, James,
Yes.
that is so true. Like,
Yes.
I really think that made a connection to me, man. Because when you think about like you're doing it for yourself, right? There's a self-interest for sure, but you're right. It's like everybody's gonna have different interests. You have the beekeeper, like that's their thing. Beekeeping in itself is like a whole microcosm of different rabbit holes you can go down. You have the guy raising beef.
Sourdough. We didn't talk about sourdough at all yet. Sourdough is a big thing in homesteading. Sourdough bread.
Why?
Why? Yeah.
Because you make your own sourdough starter, and then you feed it every day, and it's just this, this jar of.
Oh, so sourdough's a continuous thing? I thought it was
every day you feed it.
Oh,
you feed it.
It's like a monster. You feed it more yeast and flour and stuff.
more.
And you'll see it. You'll see it. So when my wife does it, it's like down. Like if you have a jar, like okay, so if like my beer. All right. So if my beer is down here,
Yeah.
Right?
my beer's down here, right, and then you feed it. You feed the monster, and it just like grows all the way up here, and then it shrinks back down. And that's keeping that the yeast and the bacteria
breathe.
alive, and that's what gives you that sourdough, that sour taste in the sourdough bread. You just used a little bit of dough, like you make the dough with everything else, and then you use a little bit of the sourdough into it. But you can make everything. We actually hardly ever cook with sourdough. Like we cook with the discharge. So every day when you feed it, you also discharge. So
It's
you
like
take a little bit out. and
Like
then you
that's the
feed it.
term? Like
Yeah,
that's
it's
the one
called
they roll with?
Discharge.
Yeah, it's gross.
I just
So
feel
you
like
take-
there's so many other terms in the English language that you could use, but discharge, we'll roll with it. Yeah.
So at any point on our counter, we have the living beast that is the sourdough starter that we continue
so
to
cool.
It's a bread
But then
pet.
in the fridge, we collect the discharge in another jar, and at the end of the
I
week,
just feel like
when
there's a different way you could say that.
when we have time to bake at the end of the week, we make pizza dough, we make crackers, we make homemade crackers that are better than Cheez-Its.
Man, it's a
I fucking
bread.
believe it.
It's a
Hey,
bread.
hold on,
pet.
Dylan. I got a question here. So let's say if you have like the container, like the beer cup you just used as an example, do you have to like harvest from the bottom? Is there, or you can always kind of shave from the top, so to
They're
speak?
always off the top.
Always off the top. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a jar, and you scoop stuff out, and then you put new stuff.
All
in.
right, bread pets, time for the discharge.
like, feed.
Man, I never knew. Okay, so now I see why, like, all the social media posts about sourdough, why it's so, like, hectic, or like it's, it gets crazy.
And baking with it is not necessarily easy. It's a learning experience because you got to use a little bit of sourdough and you got to use a little bit of raw materials.
That
like
is
flour
fascinating.
and such, and then you make your. But it's like a learning curve. So a lot of it requires like rising. And so I have a couple of videos. I have an Instagram. It's called Homestead Guide, and I have Instagram videos on there. And so there's a video of me. I go in. My wife's the sourdough baker, not me, but she was away at work, and so I had to go. And the dough had been sitting there in a bowl covered, and I had to go and I had to like scoop it and stretch it, and then like pour it back. And then you do that like every couple hours, and then it's ready to bake. Like.
Wow.
12 hours later, you're able to bake the bread. So it's a little bit of something for everybody in the sourdough world too, because you could just be like me, who just likes to make crackers because it's like the least.
But
work
I bet
and
too.
the most delicious.
All this work though makes your gut feel probably way better than buying bullshit bread at the store.
Absolutely,
gotta be
way healthier. And it just makes you more aware of what's in your kitchen because it doesn't last forever. So you have to eat it, or you have to strategically turn it into croutons at some point. you can't just let it sit forever.
Oh, that is awesome. Throw it in. We got too much. It's like cucumbers. We got too much bread.
Right. Yeah.
Man. Well, as we land this plane, James, this has been awesome. I want you back. We want you back on because this has been fantastic. You're basically talking about what Colton and I want to work towards. You're doing it, buddy. I think a lot of men think about, and women, but like a lot of men think about, like, I wish I just had land I could do stuff on, and you're doing it.
The best decision I ever made in my life, and it was a big step, and I was scared, but we did it. I've never been happier.
That is awesome, man. And we'll make sure to promote this too on it. And, Swan Publishing. So were you like, I want to promote my own book, after writing it, you're like, screw paying someone to do it. I want to do it myself.
Yeah. So this is actually my second book. So my first book was about my Pomskis, about learning how to raise Pomskis, kind of share that knowledge, share my hard-earned lessons with other people who want Pomskis. And so then this book is my second book, and I'm just kind of still learning the publishing process, but I want to do it myself, and I kind of want to build this side business of publishing and publish more books and help other people. I got so much joy out of my first book that I wrote a second, and I got so much joy out of my second book that I signed a book deal with another author to help them write their first book. And
That's
and
awesome.
I'm not just publishing, like I help that person. I'm editing each chapter with them. We're building a story together, and we're going to make a big run at a big, fiction world story. And so I'm just getting to experience all kinds of stuff that I never would if I didn't write the first book.
I feel like you're going the Stephen King route. Now you live in the woods, and now there's going to be a horror fiction.
My retirement plan was to retire to the Black Forest in Germany.
Ooh.
And write books.
Yeah.
And I found a way to have my own forest here.
Oh, that's so cool.
In Virginia, which I love, and start writing books now before I retire. And by the time
why
I'm
wait, right?
retirement age, I'm going to have 15 books.
Don't wait to old age to have good sex.
That's right. And I love the logo too, man. That is cool. The swan, the person reading on the back. That's like a perfect book thing, I love that. That's a neat logo.
Yeah, I love it too. That was I work with all kinds of designers and stuff for the book covers, the logo. I have a video animation of the logo. So I'm building a whole new network of people with different skills that I didn't know before. So it's been a great learning experience and great network building. And but I'm happy to be able to be on here with you guys. It's been so much fun.
Dude, it's been our honor. It's honestly beautiful to receive how in love with life you are.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm fucking proud of you. I'm glad I got the chance to meet you because I feel like you are living life. You're not just a bystander to life. You're an active participant in life. And that is so refreshing for me as another human. So one man to another, I really appreciate the essence of your expression.
I appreciate that. And I hope,
your discharge.
I hope that this podcast episode, and then I hope also my book helps inspire people to do the same thing. And so for you guys, I put together a promo. So when this podcast goes live on the 12th, for the 12th and the 13th of August, the book is going to be free on Amazon for the Kindle ebook. So everybody
go.
get a free
And
copy.
we're gonna-
2 days. 2 days. Tell everybody. Get your free ebook copy. And if you really like it, leave an Amazon review. Maybe buy a hard copy and give it to a friend so they can experience it too.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. It is worth it too, guys, if you want to get into homesteading and just want to learn the basics. If you live in the city in an apartment, it tells you how to even get into it from there, So, James, thank you again for coming on, man. This has been awesome. Great talking with you. Looking forward to having you back on and hearing what else you've done on your land out there, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.